Welcome to Veteran Strong Network podcast, episode number 3. I'm Dr. Varela, and we are happy to be here tonight. And let's go over what we're going to talk about. The first thing we'll do is Fern's going to go ahead and do a week in review. And then from there, he'll cover 4 pillars on a checklist for applying for disability. And then once we're done with that, I will go into protecting veterans from romance scams, and we'll have a discussion on that. And then depending on the time, we'll see where we're at, and we may touch on another topic. We're not sure yet, but welcome. So Fern, you are up.
Hey, welcome everyone. Again, this is Fern, Fernando Cerezo. Thank you, Dr. V. Veteran Strong Network, strong as ever. I want to talk about some history today. In 1791, Vermont was admitted as the 14th state, and it was the first edition after the 13 original colonies. In 1987, President Ronald Reagan addressed the nation. Iran-Contra affair. He took full responsibility for that affair. I don't know so much I know, acknowledging his overture to Iran and the deterioration into the arms for hostage deal. I think one of the biggest names to come out of that was Colonel Oliver North, which took lead in that. And if you go back that time, for some of you remember, he testified to Congress, but later on had his own TV show. I believe he had a program on Fox News as a commentator. Commentator. So they always bring him on and get any takes. But that's our day in the history. I just wanted to share those 2 pieces, which on other notes, though, really wanted to take a moment to discuss VA disability, which is near and dear to our hearts, right? Something that we do. It's a service we provide with Veteran Strong Network Coaching and Consulting. And the last episode, I discussed one of the forms to start the process. Today, I want to discuss a little bit about 4 pillars. And the 4 pillars is, getting prepared for that. I just want to take a moment to give you some insight. You all can go on to va.gov and you can find some of this information. I know it's tough because va.gov has so much information. To try to find something specific is like going through a needle in a haystack. But think about it in a website thing. But just keep in mind, you can go to www.va.gov. But come on to Veteran Strong. We can help you out, and we can get you there. Key notes here is I want to discuss is, and prior to I go to the 4 pillars, is different types of application and different circumstances. And I didn't address as much detail last week, but thinking about when is it the time to actually apply for VA disability? Well, if you're on active duty and you're coming up on your separation, within 180 days of separation, you can start the process to actually apply for disability. For those of you that have already separated, you can start the process at any time after separation. In the past, you had to actually, the day you got out your DD-214, and when you do get your DD-214, you submit that, but you've already started the process. You've probably been through some CMP exams, which you talked about CMP's compensation and pension with the Veterans Affairs. Now, the pillars is preparation, right? So you want preparation. Listen to me. I hate some peppers say preparation, right? So, you want to prepare. You want to gather all your medical documents. Dr. V, come in on this because I know this is something that's near and dear. You've worked with many clients on ensuring that their medical documentation is lined up and ready or to review to ensure that it's quality and that's actually what the VA is looking for. But you want to gather all your medical documentation. And Dr. V, I'd like to hear your take a little bit in that and give us some insight more specifically into it.
Yeah, I mean, this is an extremely important piece to this, and you want to go through and hopefully get your hands on your record. A lot of the time I would hear, well, I can't find this and I can't find that, and that's going to be an issue because you need the documentation or you're going to have to get evaluated by somebody else. There has to be something in writing, right? So I hope that helped a little.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So with that being said, very important to have your service record. Now, I separated from the military, retired last year, January. And while I was still in and while I was going through the process, you were allowed to go and request your record to get digitally download it and send to you. Now, I say that on the Navy side of the house, but I'm sure all the services have, if not, something similar. And what happens is you go to medical records and you request your record. Now, you want to request it way beyond not too far off at the 180 days, but prior to the 180-day mark. So you can get all the records. And what they do is they go through every system that the DoD has and they download that, because not everything is where it used to be. But the TRICARE Online, which is no longer a system they use anymore. They use the newer system, which doesn't have all your medical information per se if you've been in for more than the last 5 years, right? With that being said, prepare. And one of the ways, the most important thing to prepare for is gathering all your medical evidence. Second is ensuring you understand the process, understand the timing, which I spoke to within 180 days. What happens when you do separate? Where do you send your DD-214? And you got to ensure you send that to the VA as soon as you get it in your hands. There's some services, my understanding, in the Navy, we had a little bit of issue where there was a delay in DD-214s, where people were separating, can you believe this? Separating, and they weren't getting their DD-214 till maybe a month, 3 months out after they've already been out. Last day in the service. My understanding is they've made corrections to that. I got it fairly soon. I got about 2 weeks prior to me separating, but I've heard there's issues with that. And I'd love to get people's feedback from you veterans out there. Tell me what your experience is. Drop it down on the comments box, because we definitely like to know what your experience is, especially if you're going through the process as we speak now, so we can get the latest and greatest on what's going on with the folks with the medical records request, but not only that, but ensuring that you get your DD-214 in a timely manner. And then, of course, the final is ensuring that you stay on top of things. If you have a medical appointment, which is CMP exams, ensure that you make those appointments. Make it to your CMP exam. It is very important to ensure that you make it to your CMP exam. You'll get a text. You'll get a phone call. They're pretty good at ensuring that you're aware that your CMP exam is either coming up, but definitely when it's gonna scheduled for. If you can't make it to that CMP exam, you definitely need to reschedule way in advance if you can. Obviously, the emergencies where you're making it down to the CMP exam, God forbid there's some sort of accident, you can't make it on time, I'm sure that you can make the phone call to reschedule. But what I'm saying is, don't blow off the CMP examination date, because that's vital to ensuring your VA disability claim moves forwards.
On that note, it's extremely important, like Fern was just saying, to call in if you need to reschedule or cancel, because if you're a no-show, it's not as easy to get another appointment. You may end up having to wait a very long time, especially if you don't call or let them know what's going on. They're just going to no-show you, and that's going to show up in your record, and then they're going to be like, well, obviously this can't be too pressing because they no-showed and didn't contact us. Extremely important to reach out and let them know what's going on and ask them to document that in your record.
Yeah. Definitely get those CMP exams scheduled, make those examination dates, and get those physicals or the reviews prior to getting out on active duty. It's called, the claim is through the Benefits Delivery and Discharge Program, BDD. That's something you'll hear while you're going through your process of transitioning out of the military, maybe retirement or just your discharge. You're done with your 3, 4, 5 years, 10, 15. The process is available for all those that are discharging with that. With that being said, we're always available to do consultation. We can look at your record, ensure what you're looking at. If you want to know the steps a little bit more in detail, we'll be more than happy to schedule something with you. Just reach out to us and send us a message, and we'll get that coordinated. With that, Dr. V, anything you like that? And to the topic of discharge?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, like Fern said, we're available if you need to reach out with any questions and so on.
We definitely want to make sure that everyone takes advantage of these programs. The VA has a lot to offer, so I encourage everybody to go to va.gov. And once you see what you're looking at, if you have any questions, we can probably clear up or get you a little bit more clear insight onto the situation of what you're claiming or what you're looking to do, or what you're looking to benefits you're trying to get from the VA. We're here to help. Yep.
Right. Thank you. In regard to a little bit of my background, and that is that I came from the VA, in case you missed that from last week's episode. I worked at the VA, so I'm very familiar with the VA and the procedures. And I left the VA for a specific reason. I couldn't help veterans. And I saw that a lot of veterans weren't getting the services or the disability rating or compensation as they should be, and wasn't able to do anything about it because I was in the position of being their psychologist and nothing more. And so I, at that point, decided to leave the VA. And so we're here promoting VA disability claims and rating packages, what we've learned, what we've seen, what we've been through. And so we're very knowledgeable and skilled in all this. And again, I put that out there because I want you to know, one, I came from the VA, so I know the process very well. I know CMP, I know DBQs, I know the assessments. I mean, that's what I did, that's what I do. And I just wanted to make note of that for everybody out there. And like I said, in case you didn't hear us from our previous podcast, so you kind of have a heads up on who we are. Fern, why don't you tell them a little bit about like what you experienced and what you went through, so they kind of know, how you have your understanding of this.
Yeah. All right. So, a little bit of, my experience in this is, so I got through the medical disability evaluation system is how I separated. And when I was going through the process, it was through the same process as the other folks that were coming out of the military as well, the Navy in this case, and Marines that use our clinics. CMP exams are pretty much the same across the board. When I say the same, what I'm saying is the process to schedule them across the board, specifically for the one we were talking about earlier, the, ensuring that we get the claim expedited while you're the last 190 to 180 days of active duty. You can actually develop the claim and get a faster decision on your disability benefits, by submitting your evidence and supporting documents, which is so important. And I'll say it again. I actually submitted a request for my records through the medical records department of the clinic. And I was able to get all my records sent to me via email, obviously through safe. They give you a code so you can get your documents safely, but they did get it to me. It took them a few weeks, so it's not something that's going to happen fast. But the experience was, pretty flawless as far as for me and for those that were going through it as we were going through our TAPS class and separation. So with that, we're always available. And, our experience with the VA has been, I would say, I'm going to be fair, it's been better than most, but I have had my experience with them.
Thank you. All right. Are we ready to move into protecting veterans from romantic? Yeah, and this information is coming from the VA Office of Information and Technology. So they put this out in one of their recent newsletters. But they are providing stats on it, and it's very interesting, surprising to me, because as recent as 2024, 53% of men and 47% of women reportedly experienced some form of a romance scam in an online dating environment. Those are pretty high numbers. And let's talk about the romance scams that were targeting veterans. They often began innocently, like on dating apps or websites, social media platforms, which, by the way, interestingly enough, Fern and I were talking about this earlier. We both, I recently am continually getting DMs from people saying, that they're widowed and they want to talk, and they're phishing. They're scammers. Scammers will create convincing personas and they may pose as fellow veterans. I've had that. I've had someone say they were an admiral. Really? I don't think so. They'll say military personnel or individuals that share interests and experiences, because they're looking you up. They're looking at your stuff online. They have access to that, especially with public Facebook pages and so on. A con artist will invest time and effort into building rapport with a veteran, gradually earning their trust and affection. So yeah, back to the numbers though. Those are high numbers, 53% men, 47% women. If you think about it, whether you're an E1 or you're an admiral, people get lonely. People want to feel good about themselves. People want to feel like some of the examples of romance scams that the FBI has put out include impersonating a deployed military member or a celebrity and gaining the veteran's trust before eventually taking advantage of romantic connection. And think about it, the veteran population, more so I think than any other population, when you're still in the military, you have that military family to lean on, right? More so. Yeah, you may be lonely, but I think there's more loneliness and isolation in the veteran community than elsewhere. And so this is why these scammers are targeting veterans and older people. And the reason they're doing this is they're wanting money and they're going to do whatever they can to get that money. Some scammers will make plans to meet the veteran or propose marriage through messages, right? And this is enticing to some people out there who have nobody. They want this to be real, right? But the reality is they'll never likely meet. And the connection the veteran believed in is broken once the fraud is exposed. So basically, if something feels off or too good to be true, trust your instincts. That's one thing. Yeah, like, why would an admiral be sending me a DM, right? It's probably not going to happen. But again, there's people who are lonely and they want to believe whatever's going to make them happy in the moment. And in the long run, it ends up hurting them. So let's talk about some tips to stay safe and try and stay out of the situation. You can exercise caution with unsolicited contacts. Like I was saying earlier, I probably get maybe, I don't know, a minimum of 5 a day from people wanting to be friends. One good way, you can look at a profile online, right? If you look at a profile and they have absolutely no information on it, the page is blank, they are probably not real. Now, I'm not saying that in every single case, but the majority, yes, it's a fake right? And so that's kind of what I do. Skeptical of unexpected messages or friend requests, like I just said, particularly from those claiming to be military personnel veterans. Protect your information. Refrain from sharing your information. Never give sensitive information on Facebook or through email, especially with someone that we're not too sure of if they even are who they are or who they say they are. Learn to spot and avoid scammers on dating sites and social media who build trust, fabricate emergencies, and request money. Be mindful about disclosing information related to your military service, your family, or your finances. So again, keep that personal information, that important personal information to yourself. You just don't know who's on the other side of that screen, right? Okay. Be cautious of financial requests. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've heard a lot about this, and I'm sure many of you have too, where people are giving their money up to strangers. They don't know these people. They don't know them. They don't really know a true person. A genuine romantic interest should not pressure you for financial assistance early in online relationship, right? That should be the furthest thing they're trying to do. I mentioned earlier, trust your instincts. If something seems too good to be true or raises red flags, run in the other direction. Right? Step back and assess the situation critically. Don't hesitate to consult with friends or family. A lot of the time, too, what I've seen, and I've dealt with this in a couple different situations, is that once it started happening and these people were taken advantage of, they don't want to tell their family. It's heartbreaking, it's embarrassing, and they just feel so bad about it. But they're at the point now where they've been scammed big time. So trust your instincts. Report suspicious activity if you encountered any behavior or believe you might be targeted by a scam. It's crucial to report it immediately. This includes notifying the platform where the interaction occurred and submitting a report to FTC at reportfraud.ftc.gov. Okay, I'll read that again. Report to the FTC at reportfraud.ftc.gov. All right. More than 64,000 romance scams were reported in 2023, totaling 1.14 billion losses. So it's absolutely ridiculous. And every day it's getting worse and worse, and people are preying on these victims, right? They're praying. They'll do anything to try and get money. Those numbers are, though, amazing. So, yeah. wanted to put that out there, kind of give everybody a heads up on this and just be aware. Sometimes we let our feelings and our emotions take over and we're not thinking logically with the brain because we want to feel good, right? We want that feel good emotion. I'm even skeptical of the DM friend requests or the messenger requests on Facebook because nowadays they can kind of do anything through the internet. And I've learned the hard way, not this, but I mean, I have, they've gotten into my system before. Um, so yeah, I'm very careful. You got to be really careful because they have access to all your information. Just be careful, vigilant on what you have going on. I don't want everyone cynical or completely skeptical all the time, but just be careful is our main concern. And thank you so much for doing this tonight, even though you are in, but I know stop you. So thank you. And thank you out there. Again, reach out if you want to see anything specific, and we will see you next week. Thank you. Bye.